Now we turn our attention to Dan at Wesley Palms. Dan and Pauline are so much fun, and he's known at Wesley Palms for many things, like margarita parties that you and Pauline host, and playing your guitar and singing. You're known for a lot of different things that build community, and you've been involved in something that's very special at Wesley Palms that helps residents and staff with fitness and building community. So Dan, can you tell us about that?
Okay, Mary. Let me first state that I was never athletic. During my 34-year career in the engineering faculty at UC Davis, I never engaged in any exercise program. I biked from home to campus every day and around town when there wasn't a need for a car. However, so that gives you the background. But in September of 2017, after we had been here for probably about 8 or 9 months at Wesley Palms purchased a cybercycle, and that's a computer-driven display connected to the internet, and you pedal in a partially recumbent position. And the computer contains a multitude of different courses to ride of varying difficulty, and it also has games that you can apply your steering skills, your gear changes as the course curves, where you go up and down terrain. And both the road courses and games have small little incentives for you to improve your performance. For example, they give you a ghost. Okay, so if you have the first time you ride a course, you get a ghost. And every time you ride that course again, the ghost rides along with you. Now, if you're slightly obsessive compulsive like I am, you try to beat the ghost every time you're riding. So, there are little things, but if that bothers you, don't worry, you can turn that feature off. Okay, some of the games also require, a fair amount of memory and strategy development to improve your score. And we took advantage of that in our last front porch competition, knowing how to play the game really well. So at any rate, let me give you a little bit more. Our activities and department staff, when we got that cybercycle, encouraged us to form a team. I was one of the volunteer co-captains. So it turns out that the company that markets the cybercycle also organizes national competitions. We had about 2 weeks before the first competition, because the bike came in right at the beginning of September, and the competition started right about just past the middle of September. So there wasn't any chance to condition ourselves. And the main goal of the team was not to come in last. Okay, so it turned out, though, that by midweek through the competition, Tanya, our activities coordinator, came and announced at lunchtime that we were in 6th place. And everybody, was just dumbfounded when we were in 6th place. And so you can imagine that you get a little bit of high from finding out that in your first competition, you're not that far off. So we learned that we were just a few miles behind the 6th place team, which was Alaska. At that point, we weren't in 6th place yet. Alaska was in 6th place. So during that noon meal, when we found that out, we got a little bit excited, and we said, okay, let's see if we can catch them before the last day. So by the last day, second to the last day, we were in 5th place. We had passed them. So we said, okay, how far ahead of us is the 4th place team? And we look at it, and they were in New Jersey, and we said, oh yeah, they're not that far ahead of us. So we took a run on them that night and that morning. We just rode a little bit later at night, rode early in the morning, and we passed them. But when we stopped to eat at lunchtime, the New Jersey team passed us. And so when it came to dinner time, we'd caught up and we passed them again. This time, a couple of the ladies were not going to let us get passed again during dinner. So they rode all through the dinner hour until the rest of the team could join them. And it kept our lead. And we wound up, in that first competition in 4th place. So, that taught me that I realized how competitive our residents were, and that they were enjoying, being in these competitions. So as, the successive competitions came along, we joined more of them. And over time, we kind of learned to study the competition. We figured out that if we ever wanted to beat the team that was the California leaders, the team in Santa Barbara, we would have to learn how to schedule the team's riders, because they were extremely efficient. They were able in a week to ride 1,000 miles, and so you had to, schedule people 18 hours a day in order to get to those types of distances. And so we learned some tricks of the trade from them. My wife got involved and she started baking cookies for the team, and one of our other residents bakes some gluten-free cookies for the team now, Susan. And I have to tell you, white chocolate macadamia is my favorite. And so if you rode a ride, there was a box of fresh cookies there next to the cybercycle, and you could pick one up after the ride. So that was what was done to encourage a little bit of participation.
Cookies always help.
Yes. And we learned that the larger our team was, the better we could do, even if the other teams had stronger riders. I mean, we're not strong riders, but we had, if you build a big team, every mile we expressed counts. And actually, one of the front porch competitions, we rode the distance from Chula Vista up until we reached the Oregon border. And so we had to beat the team in Northern California. They were really fighting hard to keep us going, and we just barely miled them out by about 100 miles. And if you added it up, that was the last 13 riders that only had ridden a few miles at a time. So a big team helps. Okay, well, it also turns that there are 2 open competitions each year, and during these open competitions, the staff is eligible to ride as part of the team. You don't really want the staff to dominate the team, but you can have staff participation, and that also builds community with the staff. In fact, our executive director, Ben Yeske, rode for the team in that one. So that was a major effort, and with their help, we actually took first place in the single bike communities in the country. And so there's also front porch wide competitions each year. They sponsor one each year. And I think we haven't lost that one since getting the cybercycle. So Bill, that's something for you to think about. If this one's a recumbent bike, you don't have to worry about balance on this one at all. And I'm sure you're going to strong. No, it's not a challenge, but I'm simply letting Bill know that it's a good way to get the other folks over there at Carlsbad to participate.
Well, we have some other life enrichment teams, it looks like, on our participant list. They might not be all on the gallery, but you guys heard him.
Yeah, that's a challenge. I want to show Dan's shirt. So Dan, can you tell us about your shirt? This is your team shirt.
Okay, this is our team shirt. There was a design competition for what our logo would be. So the Wesley Wheelers is our team name. And if you notice in the little gold basket, there's a little dog. The winning design was submitted by one of our residents who owned a little dog, and that's his dog.
That's the cutest.
Okay.
And you're wearing the shirt right now.
I've got the shirt on, yes. And you don't have to limit the shirts to the team members. Any resident could buy it and then support the team. And again, we make announcements during the competitions, and the rest of the residents get excited and they like to know where we're doing, how we're doing.
And here is a picture of your team as well, at least at one point.
This was the very first team, the members that could join us for some champagne, which Ben provided. We took a toast, and I think our oldest rider, it was in the one competition that we won nationally, was 96. So you don't have to be a youngster to do this. And I think in this particular team that you're looking at, there must be at least 2 or 3 or 4. No, there must be at least 4 or 5 actually, 80-year-olds plus, between 80 and 90 in this team.
Very nice. So what I've learned today is mostly you need to like T-shirts, love champagne and cookies, and you too can be a cybercycle athlete. That is so much fun. It just makes me smile to look at them.
Okay, now I have to warn you, I have to say in closing that our team is not very good about practicing unless there's a competition. So the bike isn't the choice of most residents for their regular exercise. So I'd be hesitant to say that it contributes to the team's fitness, but it's contributed to community spirit.
we've all adjusted for COVID. Are there any creative things that they are doing at Wesley Palms to keep you active and fit?
Well, they have a fairly large number of Zoom classes that trainers run, and so you can see the instructor and you can see the other residents that are participating in the exercise class. So that gets us
nice.
back a little bit together. And actually because you can record these sessions like you're doing now, and so, if you miss the class, you can go and join the recording and just go
Great.
through exercise.
Thank you. Yeah, and they have been, I know that I've heard compliments all over Front Porch about the different things that are being shared there and that are available to our professionals and to you as well. You have been also wonderful.
I'd love to ask any of our guest residents, if something is happening at your community and you're willing to share, please hit unmute and let us know what's happening at your community.
So we have at Walnut Village an in-house TV channel, and I think it's 10:30 in the morning, and then sometimes in the afternoon, chair exercises with Ryan and two of the other people who do that. So these are the same ones that are on YouTube, but they broadcast them on a day-to-day basis on a schedule. But I'm sort of doing something different. I had a physical trainer who came out here before we got shut down and did exercises to help me with my core and everything else. We are now on Zoom twice a week doing exercises, and she's putting me through a routine that I can't really ignore. It's just, hey, it's Bob, it's this time today, and you got to go and get on the floor and do all these stretches and do all these things. And if I didn't have her push me, I wouldn't do them. So it's sort of a private way. And I think you can do that if you have a few buddies. They don't have to be, in your facility. Just have them call you up, get on the computer and say, it's time to exercise, let's do it. Just sort of like a nagging wife, that kind of thing. And it works. I've been doing this now for, I don't know, a month or so now, and I find myself getting the exercises as opposed to just sitting down here feeling all stiff and lazy and postponing things and everything else. And I'm at the point where I really need those exercises. So.
That's really good advice, Bob. If you're in the home office, I'm hiring a nagger.
Let's get a nagger.
I see a hand raised. It looks like Holly.
At Wesley Palms, we now have chair exercises to our door. Our life enrichment people come around one floor each day and one room at a time. And they bring the doorbell, bring along 2 folding chairs, and the residents sits in the hall inside, and the life enrichment person sits outside in the hall. And we go through about 10 minutes of chair exercises. And it's really great. And so good of them to do that for us.
I've seen photos of it. It looks really fun, and to have it delivered to your door is pretty special. You probably couldn't get that where you were living previously, right?
You don't have any excuse.
No, definitely.
And it's longer than it sounds, when you're right there doing it. It's super good.
Well, no, that sounds really fun because it is a visitor and it is somebody that knows what they're doing and is focusing just on you. That's like your own personal trainer during this time. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that. Okay, everybody, it is 4 o'clock. It's exactly 4 o'clock. I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you next month.